Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So first of all, you may notice that the colours look a little bit different on the Rating the Races website. We are making some changes to some of the colours to make it a little bit more clearer, and we're currently going through a tweaking stage. That's why some of the colours don't quite work. As you can see, this Nagme icon, we will be changing that. But this just gives you an idea of some of the colours that we are changing on the Rating the Races website. So today is about the handicap mark changes because they've come out today. You can always find them on the BHA website. I will actually do a video just showing you how to do that, just because I see a lot of people tweeting at different people, what's this handicap mark, what's this handicap mark. You can find that all out for yourself, and I will show you how to do that in a different video. But let's talk about the horses that caught my eye from their marks being changed, and also talk about why I think they, where I think they should go, and what they could change to get a better result. And the first horse is Benson. Now, obviously, we've been a fan of Benson for a little while, and he's disappointing, without a doubt. He previously was going to go very close in the Tolworth hurdle. He then took a run to get his act together at Kempton before going on a little run of 3 wins, including winning at Sandown in December 2020, and then running an okay race at Ascot on his final run of 2020. He then wasn't seen for nearly a year, and since then he's been disappointing. But I'm not being disrespectful. I just wonder whether it's time for Lee Edwards to jump off and let somebody else have a go. Look at his record compared to some of the other jockeys that have ridden him. You can see his jockey strike rate is quite low. It's disappointing. It's only 7%. Whereas some of the previous jockeys who have done well on him, Gavin Sheehan, Sam Tweston-Davis, and Sean Bowen, have a much better record. And I think Dr. Newland should have a look at replacing Lee Edwards. He seems to lose interest halfway through the race, Benson does, before then running on again. And I wonder whether a different jockey could do something about that and keep him involved through the race. Where do I think they should go next with him? This race here at Sandown, give him a little break. He's had 4 runs now this season, November, December, January. Let's give him a break and then return on the 8th of March in this handicap hurdle here. It's a 2 mile, 373 yards for 0 to 135. Well, he was dropped £3 to 128, so he gets in comfortably. It's back at Sandown, where he's probably ran his best races. It's up slightly in trip. Again, it's up in trip from his 2 mile races, but I thought Weatherby was fine. He just lost concentration again halfway through the race, or lost interest before running on again. That's where I would be keen to see him go next, at Sandown, and let's give another jockey a go, see what they can do. Second horse I want to talk about is Mossy Fenn. And now, if we actually load up his race, he dropped £2 to 135. He was 5th rated. He was, was he the outsider of the field? No, any news for the outsider of the field. But he was up against it. He was only rated 137. The other horses were higher rated. It was always going to be tough, especially off the back of a 428-day layoff. Now, I'm hoping that he ran here just to have a little run, blow some cobwebs away, and the handicapper then go, actually, I'm going to drop him a couple of pounds, when they had no interest really of actually winning the race. Where would I go with him next? I think it's an obvious one. He's previously won this race here at Warwick over 2 mile 5. And if you actually have a look, when he goes over 3 mile, he's finished 4th, but he was well beaten when going off only 5 to 2. He was pulled up over 3 mile, and he finished 4th when never really getting involved at Cheltenham over 3 mile. I don't think he stays the 3 mile trip. I know he's won a race back here, but that was a really poor race. Drop him back to 2.5 mile, go back to Warwick, drop him into a handicap, and he can run in this Warwick Castle handicap steeplechase over 2.5. It's a decent prize. That's where I think they've got to go with Mossy Fenn. He's obviously a highly regarded horse. He's gone off 3 to 1 when taking on Protectorat and 5 to 2 when taking on Galvin. Both of those are much better than just normal novices. They're both going to be running in Grade 1 races. Drop him in trip, drop him in class, run in the handicap at Warwick, where we know he can run well. He's won a 2 mile 5 Grade 2, and I think that would be a better race for him more to his level at this stage of his career. You know, he's coming back from that layoff, so it may be that he could win the handicap and then go back into graded races. But at this stage, like off 135, if he turns up in another graded race of 135, I think that's very silly, because A, he'll be taking on horses much higher rated, and B, if he is graded class, he can win a handicap on the way. Win a decent handicap and then go back into graded races if he's good enough. The next horse I want to talk about is Alaphilippe, who, as you can see, had some really good form. He was first, second, fifth. Where was he fifth? In the Albert Bartlett. So a grade 1 race. He then returned in the Pertemps qualifier that nobody wanted to win. Maybe Sporting John did. Riggs probably should have been trying to win it, but he pulled up. Everything else was looking for a place to qualify for the Pertemps Final. Have a watch of the finish of Alaphilippe. Not given a hard ride at all. Quite gentle. I thought Paddy Brennan has not got away with one, but I thought it was an interesting ride late on. As you can see, he reduced 77% in the run, so he was travelling well. And interestingly, if we actually load up the race, we'll see that he was the highest reduction factor, or reduction here, win PR, 77%, other than the winner, and Keeper Hill, who is now retired. He was 77%. Now, he was the only one who looked like he could win without winning. All the others I didn't really think ever were in with a chance of winning. Where does he go? Well, he clearly goes to the Pertemps Final. And Fergus OBrien actually has a decent record in the Pertemps Final with just 2 runners in recent years. He finished 6th with Ars Dillon last year, and a few years before that he finished 2nd with Barney Dewan. Barney Dewan obviously got beat by Presenting Percy, bumped into a graded horse. Pertemps Final looks this year like the handicap of all handicaps. I think I've got 10, 11, 12 now down for the Pertemps Final, and I'm going to add another one on the next one, Third Wind. I thought he ran a respectable race for third. He was never asked to do anything. They never wanted to, even get involved. He's finished third. He's qualified for the race. The handicapper dropped him £2 to 144. 144 is still £3 higher than when he was fourth a few years ago. But he has finished 5th and 2nd in subsequent handicaps off 141 as well. He is still 144, so maybe he's like on his handicap mark, whereas there could be a few others that are above, below their handicap mark, and they've still got the potential to be 5, 6, 7, £8 higher, whereas maybe Third Wind doesn't. So I'm probably not as confident. If you just asked me at one of those two, Alaphilippe or Third Wind, I think I'd go Alaphilippe at the moment for the Pertemps Final. But as I said, I think there's so many in the Pertemps Final that look like they've been plotted to the race. So the Pertemps Final is the second race on the Thursday. The next horse I want to talk about is Kitty's Light. Don't know what they're doing at Kempton. Don't know what they're doing at 3 Mile at Kempton. Dropped £3 to 140. He's now only £1 higher than when he finished second. Should have won, would have won, didn't win, could have won the Bet365 Gold Cup. He would have won that if he'd got a clear run. He got hampered. The winner got disqualified, I think. They then gave it to the horse that beat the horse who got hampered. It was a very strange race. If they went straight back to that, he would win that off 140. And I'd be really confident of that. They could try and find another handicap in the meantime. The Ultima, the Kimura, any of those two. But if they save him straight for the Bet365 Gold Cup, it is a bit of a risk coming into the race with negative or poor runs to your name recently. It pulled up a 4th and a 7th. It would also be a gamble because it's the final race of the season, or one of the final races of the season. So you're really putting all your eggs in one basket. What's he actually achieved this year? A 2nd at Chepstow, a 2nd in the Charlie Hall. They should have done better than that. So if they waited till the Bet365 Gold Cup, it would be a risk. I hope they run him at Cheltenham, and I hope they run him in the Ultima or the Kimura. I think he'll go really, really close in either of those. The next horse I want to talk about, I've already mentioned before as well, is Rouge. He dropped £3 down to 153. Surely he's got to go to the Grand Annual. Third at Kempton. Should have told Paul Nicholls that he's not a graded horse. He was beaten by Mr. Fisher and something else. I can't think of its name. Let's just quickly load up the race. They pulled clear, didn't they? Mr. Fisher and Eldorado Allen. He's not good enough for graded races. And obviously at the Cheltenham Festival, you're only going to get the Grade 1 events, the Ryanair or the Champion Chase. He wouldn't win either of those. He could win the Grand Annual, though. The last time he ran in a handicap was here at Cheltenham in October of 2020. He won off 156. He's now running off 153. He looks perfectly handicapped for the Grand Annual. Two more that I want to just mention. I'm not totally sure where they're going to go. Corrick Rambler finished 4th at Warwick in the Classic Chase and was given an interesting run through. He seemed to be getting outpaced or looking like he was in trouble before then starting to run on and then fading again. And I wonder whether he was being ridden to try and get the trip. They weren't sure about the trip. I think we'll see him drop back in trip next time. Where could they go? He could be another one for the Ultima. Lucinda Russell has had Big River run well in that recently, 4th and 5th in 2 of the last 3 years. That could be where they go with Corrick Rambler, or they could look after him and drop him back into novice company next time. And the final horse that I thought was interesting, Empire Steel dropped £1 on collateral form. He's actually entered in the Peter Marsh at the weekend. Where is he? There he is. And Ryan Mania has been provisionally booked to ride. Would run off 10 stone 1. I think he goes very, very close in that. Could be that they target this race instead of running at the Cheltenham Festival. They could even win this race and then go to the Cheltenham Festival. But if he runs at the weekend, I'll be very keen on Empire Steel to run a big race. I thought he was going to win the Roland Merrick at Wetherby. And yeah, I think he'll go very close. So there's some handicap droppers. I think of all of those, who do I like the most? Probably Rouge for the Grand Annual. I think he will go very, very close in that. So thanks for listening. As I said, I'm making some changes to these colours. We'll go back through and make a few more. I've seen like this race settings. You can't see that very well. You can't see these icons very well, the NAGMI icons. And we'll keep working on Rating the Races as a product as well. Thanks for listening and have a great week.